All right, greetings again, everyone. Breaking free from the fetter, which is the Willie Lynch Letter, Part 2. Breaking free from the fetter, which is the Willie Lynch Letter, Part 2. For more information, make sure you tune in to Part 1. Breaking free from the fetter, which is the Willie Lynch Letter, Part 1. All right, that was Part 1. This is Part 2. Here in Part 2, as we can see, this picture, every shade of black is beautiful. It's the truth. All these women, all these queens you see, right? These melanated queens, they're all beautiful, all right? From dark chocolate to medium chocolate to light chocolate to lighter chocolate. They're all beautiful, all right? So every shade of black is beautiful. I agree with that. All the way. That's a total buck. All right. So let's go to the word to get some more clarity regarding this lesson. So let's go to the book of 1 Samuel chapter 16. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 11. And Samuel said unto Jesse, Are here all thy children? And he said, There remaineth yet the youngest. Right? So all 7 of Jesse's sons, they passed before Samuel because Samuel is instructed to bring everybody up to speed. Samuel has been instructed he's to go to Jesse's house to anoint the next king of Israel. Right? So 7 of Jesse's sons passed before Samuel, but the Most High let Samuel know through all 7, that's not the one. Okay? That's not the one. So here we pick up in verse 11, once again. And Samuel said unto Jesse, Are here all thy children? And he said, There remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto Jesse, Send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come hither. And he sent and brought him in. Now he being David, right? Shepherd boy David. Now he was ruddy, and withal of a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look to. And the Most High said, Arise, anoint him, for this is he. Okay, arise, anoint him, for this is he. So when it gives a description of shepherd boy David, right, who once he's sent for, he comes in, right, he was ruddy and withal of a beautiful countenance. Okay. With all of a beautiful countenance. We're going to talk about that some more in a minute. But let's focus right now on this word ruddy, or some people say ruddy, from verse 12, right? Ruddy is the Hebrew word admoni, which means reddish of the hair or the complexion. Reddish of the hair and or the complexion, right? Okay, so let's go further. Let's go, while we're in 1 Samuel, let's go to the next chapter over, which is 1 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 39. And we're still dealing with David, the shepherd, the young man. This is shepherd, right? So 1 Samuel chapter 17, starting at verse 39. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he assayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off of him. So he put the armor and all of that, sword, the armor and all that off of him, right? He hadn't proved them. He hadn't tested them before. That was not what he was used to, right? Verse 40, he took his staff in his hand, what he was used to, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, which once again he was used to, and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip, and his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of a fair countenance. So this giant right? This man, 9 feet 6 inches tall, he disdains David. He mocks David because, number one, David's age. He was a youth. He was a teenager, right? We see, and because he was ruddy, which again, we see that word, Hebrew word, adamoni, which means reddish of the hair or the complexion. Now, when it talks about David's countenance, it says he was also ma'eh, which means handsome. So David was a handsome young man. So was he a handsome young man with red hair? Not just that only. There was something else going on here. And I'm about to break it down what exactly was going on. Okay? Okay. This man we see on the left. No need to name him by name, but this man we see on the left, right? Okay. He is of a ruddy complexion. In other words, in our community as people of color, we would say he's a red bone. He's a light-skinned man, right? That's his complexion. He has a red tone to his complexion, but he's considered a light-skinned man, or light-skinned person, I should say. A red bone, right? The man on the right, you see, he's a much older man. He's wearing armor. He's a seasoned warrior. You can see by the scars on his face, looks like he's lost an eye, right? From constantly battling, constantly warring, right? When you are a warrior, you have constantly been involved in war, okay? Now, this is my take on things, right? This is what I discern from the word, okay? David, when it says he was ruddy, some people say, well, it's because he was dirty from being out there with the sheep, right? Okay? Say if that's true. He was dirty, so that's how his complexion was, right? But by the time we get to, he was brought in from the sheep in 1 Samuel chapter 16. He was brought in from tending to the sheep, right? But when we get to 1 Samuel chapter 17, right, we see David actually on the battlefield. He was out there on the battlefield because he was instructed by his daddy to bring his brothers some food, some bread and some cheese, right? So are we saying that David went directly from the field to give his brothers some bread and cheese? So David's complexion was still ruddy, still dirty. If that was the case, why would Goliath disdain him? He disdained him because of his complexion, which was reddish. David was a light-skinned young man, right? Could have had red hair along with that, but his complexion was definitely reddish, and he was also handsome, the opposite of Goliath. Now, am I saying that Goliath was a darker complected man and not handsome? I'm not saying that at all. Goliath was a Philistine, right? Philistum, right? Of the lineage of Ham. Hamites were always known to be of a darker complexion, right? So Goliath disdains David because Goliath, who had been a warrior from his youth up, was an older, seasoned warrior, a war veteran that had seen war, was not concerned about his looks. I believe had scars on his face, possibly scars on his body from constantly being involved in war. That's how they knew whom to pick to fight for them, right? He disdains seeing David because he sees David as this young, pretty boy that don't look like he's ever been in war a day in his life. We know how the story ends. Who did the Most High use to take out who? Okay? What's my point in this? There were lighter-skinned Israelites. Black is beautiful in all its complexions, as we saw at first with the women. The same goes for the men. Black and beautiful, whether you are as dark as tar or as light where you almost look like you could pass for an albino. It's still beautiful. Okay? It's still beautiful. So let us move on. Okay, let's go to the Song of Solomon in our Bibles. Song of Solomon. Now, we had just read about David, and it gives a description of his complexion, right? So now let's go to Song of Solomon. This Song of Solomon involves Solomon, who happens to be a son of King David. Okay? Son of King David, one of his sons. So, Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verses 5 through 6. The Shulamite woman, right, says, I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard have I not kept. Okay, so this woman describes herself as black, right? She's describing her complexion, in other words, her skin tone. She's saying, I'm black, but I'm comely. I'm black, but I'm beautiful, in other words. That's exactly what she's saying, which is the truth. Never met the sister before. We don't have a picture of her, but she's speaking this in all confidence, and I believe it, because every shade of black is beautiful, right? So let's break down that word black. That word black is the Hebrew word shakor. Shakor, which means dusky, absolutely jetty black. When something is jetty black, what is it? It's extremely black, right? Okay, that's from verse 5. In verse 6, what she says is, look not upon me because I am black, right? Because I am black. This word for black is the Hebrew word shekar koref. Shekar koref, right? Which means swarthy, which means black. And she says, because of the sun has looked upon me, right? Remember, she was working out in the vineyards, okay? Shemesh, right? Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun have looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards. So they made her go out and work in the vineyards, out in the field. As a result of working out there in that open field, the sun turned her complexion extremely dark, right? So Shemesh is the sun. So this woman was an extremely dark-skinned woman of color. Extremely dark-skinned as a result of working out in the vineyard. That open sun really turned her complexion darker, okay? Anybody who knows me, with me being a man of color of a lighter tone, right? You could say I'm of a ruddy tone, right? At one point in time, I had spent a lot of time in Arizona, and being out in that open Arizona sun, right? A lot of people started to say when I was sending pictures to people who knew me, they made this joke saying that, okay, who's this man that looks like a Cocoa Puff, right? They were saying I look like a Cocoa Puff because that Arizona sun had turned my complexion so much darker than what people were used to seeing on me. I didn't mind. I really enjoyed, my time spent in Arizona. Hey, no matter what my complexion is, I know who I am by my soul, right? And I have the soul of a melanated man because I am a melanated man. To my heart, thank you. So just wanted to make that clear, all right? I love being a man of color. If I had a choice to be something different, of a different race, of a different nation, I wouldn't change it. I thank the Most High that He made me who and what I am, all right? I love myself. This is whom I am meant to be. No disrespect to other nations, races, or ethnicity. Hey, love yourself. Love the skin that you're in, all right? So now, just wanted to put that little sidebar out there. So now, let's go to the book of 2 Samuel in our Bibles, chapter 11. 2 Samuel, chapter 11, all right? Bear with me as I'm turning the pages. I'm old school. I like to read with the pages right in front of me. Okay, 2 Samuel 11, starting at verse 1. And it came to pass after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel. And they destroyed the children of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried still at Jerusalem. So David stayed behind. And it came to pass in the eventide that David arose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself. And the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman. And one said, is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Okay, so let's stop right there. So this was Bathsheba, right? Okay. Now, she was the daughter of Eliam, the daughter of Eliam. So let's focus on that, the daughter of Eliam. So while we're in 2 Samuel, let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 23. 2 Samuel 23 and 34. Elipheleth, the son of Ahashbah, the son of the Maachathite, Eliam, there's Eliam again, right? The son of Ahithophel, the Gilonites. The Gilonites. Okay, what is a Gilonite? According to the Hebrew, it's Giloni, which is an inhabitant of Gilo. An inhabitant of Gilo, right? Okay, so let's go to the book of Joshua to find out more about Gilo or Gileonites, right? So let's go to Joshua chapter 15 and let's go to verse 20. So Joshua 15 and 20, it says, this is the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Judah according to their families. Okay. This is the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Judah according to their families. Okay. So this is the inheritance of specifically Judah. Okay. So David was of the tribe of Judah, right? He was a Yahudim, right? From the tribe of Judah. Correct? All right, let's drop down to verse 51. And Goshen, this is all the cities that they claim, right? And Goshen, and Holon, and Gilo, 11 cities with their villages. Gilo, right? So Gilo, which means to open in the Hebrew, is also a place in Palestine. Okay, ancient Palestine was part of a larger region called Canaan. Canaan was the name of the land west of the Jordan River. Before the Israelites, which were led by Joshua, entered into the land and conquered it, right? So the Israelites, led by Joshua, entered into the land of Canaan and conquered it. And the tribe of Judah, Gelo, was one of the cities that they took over and inhabited, right? So the land had been occupied by Canaanites, whom are of the lineage of Ham, meaning that Bathsheba and her family lineage were originally from the lineage of Ham. Okay, the Hamites were of a darker complexion. Okay, they were of a darker complexion, generally more so than the Israelites. Okay. Now, let's go back to Song of Solomon. We're going to go to verse 5, chapter 5, and verse 10. So Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 10. Okay. When she is describing Solomon, she says, my beloved is white and ruddy. Okay. White and ruddy. All right. White and ruddy, the chiefest among 10,000, right? So what does she mean when she says white? Was he a Caucasian man? Okay, well, according to White in verse 10, it's the word tishach, which means dazzling. That is sunny, bright. Okay, sunny and bright. Doesn't mean, pale or of a paler complexion. It means dazzling, right? Dazzling is like a bright light. That is sunny, bright. Okay? Rudy is Adom, which means rosy, red, or ruddy. All right? I say all this believing that since King Solomon's daddy was King David, as we have already established, was of a ruddy complexion. He was a lighter complected man, right? Bathsheba, right? Coming from that lineage of being a Canaanite, right? Since that's her lineage, not a Canaanite, but from the lineage of Ham, which, they were occupying the land of the Canaanites, which that's where the Canaanites also were actually living, right? I believe that she was of a darker complexion. So I believe since King David, of course, was King Solomon's daddy, and Bathsheba was King Solomon's mother, that King Solomon was of the complexion that you see before you. All right? He wasn't light-skinned. He wasn't very dark-skinned. He was right in between, but his complexion was dazzling. It was bright. He had a certain glow about him. He was handsome after all, like his daddy David, right? And David saw that his mama was a beautiful woman, so she wasn't no ugly woman. So remember, black is beautiful despite what shade it comes in, right? So I really believe that this is exactly what King Solomon looked like. We don't know, right? I've never seen King Solomon personally. I've never seen him in the spirit, never seen him in the vision, never seen him in a dream. But I believe that King Solomon would have looked much like this young man that we see before us. Okay? And we obviously see he's a man of color. All right? An Israelite, right? From the tribe of Judah, a Yahudim. Okay? Stay tuned for the next video coming shortly.